Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for 9/26/2014. Happy Friday to you. I'm coming to you from a farm in Missouri. What you see is what you get. Look behind me. Lush and green and beautiful and lots of water. Almost too much water. We'll talk about the crop report coming up in just a little bit, but I have to tell you, out west is nothing like this, and it's kind of scary. But my top story is not that. It is this. The scariest headline I saw all week long, and I'll say it to you. It's on the Wall Street Journal. It says, the U.S. promises long campaign in Syria. U.S. promises long campaign in Syria. I mean, a lot of people are like, more bombing, another war. We are at war, and we're jumping in there with our Air Force, and we are probably sliding in there with our boots on the ground. That's what all the military leaders says. Now, the President of the United States, President Obama, touts the fact that we got all these other nations, but listen, forget all the other nations. There's only one that really matters, and that's Saudi Arabia. Why? Remember about a year ago or so when they were supposed to bomb in Syria, the President of the United States, Obama, backed out. You know, that red line was crossed with chemical weapons, although I think the chemical weapons were done by the rebels, the so-called moderate rebels, Al-Qaeda. But at any rate, he was supposed to be bombing back then and didn't. What did top Saudi Arabian officials say? They felt like they were, quote, stabbed in the back by Obama, end quote. Stabbed in the back, end quote, by the president. Stabbed in the back. These are top government officials in Saudi Arabia. You know they've been threatening the U.S. with cutting off the dollar as the exclusive petrodollar trade for Saudi oil. And once that goes, everybody will be accepting yuan, rupee, ruble, euros, you name it. That's what happened. So this bombing campaign that, Saudi Arabia is fully behind because, it's about a pipeline. The Ataris want a pipeline. The Saudis want a pipeline. The Russian foreign minister said, hey, this is about a pipeline going through Syria, and they want to force it. A lot of people have said it's about a pipeline. It's pretty much about a pipeline. I don't understand that nobody really in the United States voted on removing Assad from power. I mean, yes, he's a bad person, but there are a lot of bad people out there. We just all of a sudden, we have to get rid of them. Well, what do you mean we have to? Where's the debate for that? Why are we arming, quote, moderate rebels, which is Al-Qaeda? And now we're bombing, ISIS, which I'm not sure Al-Qaeda is all for that. You know what I'm saying? That these moderate rebels, which Al-Qaeda, could just say, you're going too far. I mean, we're bombing ISIS, and if you take a look at the campaign, I've got to show you this too. It's in Iraq and Syria, mostly in Syria, and look at the bombing in Syria. Particularly, look at right here where my finger is. This right here, I mean, they're bombing around the biggest city. They're bombing all over Syria. I mean, all over here. And remember, the foreign minister of Russia, Lavrov, warned about, hey, if you think you're going to expand this campaign and kick out Assad, that's going to be a problem for us. Could be wider war in the Middle East. He's basically, basically intimating that it could lead to World War III, or at least a much wider regional war in the Middle East. The president was in front of the United Nations, and we wanted to help to basically target, and I got to show you this, it's what he calls the network of death. That he's in front of the United Nations targeting the network of death. He was also in front of there talking about Ferguson, Missouri. Huh? What? I actually heard people talking in a restaurant going, I can't believe he brought up Ferguson, Missouri in front of the United Nations. But he's talking about the network of death. That's ISIS, the Islamic State. And I got to read this to you because, even the mainstream media can't bring themselves to calling what's going on. These people are Islamic militants, Islamic terrorists. But instead, here's what it says. Here's the line right off the first thing. This is an Associated Press story. Confronted by the growing threat of Middle East militants. They're just militants from the Middle East. They're not Islamic extremists, even though they're from the Islamic State and they're ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. But they're Middle East militants. It can't be Islamic terrorists or Islamic militants or extremist Islamic people. Oh, no, they are Middle East militants. I mean, you can't even identify who our enemy is. It's unbelievable. But I got to tell you that this is a scary proposition, and the U.S. is promising a long campaign. That doesn't mean a few months. I think it means years. That's what the president said. Next up, Eric Holder is stepping down as Attorney General. They haven't named his replacement. I think they're going to go with a woman. I think they're going to go with Granholm, the former governor, or somebody like that. I think that's what they're going to do. And I'll tell you why I think that he is stepping down now, because this is going to be a long, protracted legal battle on multiple fronts, and he wants to get out now to do as little damage as he can just before the 2016 election. That's what I think. I mean, because I think my question is, why now? I mean, why now? Why is he stepping down now? That's a plum job, the Attorney General of the United States. Of course, most Americans, according to a new poll, think he's done the worst job of anybody in recent history, Eric Holder. But, I think, let me name some of the problems that he still is going to have to deal with, and that is the Contempt of Congress case, which is proceeding. The other thing that is proceeding along with that Contempt of Congress is over Fast and Furious. There's a federal judge that says, okay, no more delays with the documents that Congress has asked over Fast and Furious. That's where we gave semi-automatic and fully automatic weapons to Mexican drug cartels, and one of our border people was killed. So that's another problem that he has. Also, we have the ongoing problem, which I think more shoes and boots are going to drop with the IRS targeting, where the president says there's not a smidgen of evidence of wrongdoing. Really not a smidgen of evidence, even after all these hard drives mysteriously crashed at the same time. And, there's nothing backed up, allegedly. I think there's plenty backed up, and it's not a coincidence that these hard drives crashed. In my humble opinion, it looks like they were destroying evidence in the case. That's what it looks like to me. But this is not just targeting. This is First Amendment felony criminal activity, in this case against Tea Party Republicans. Somebody should go to jail over this, without question. Somebody should go to jail over this. This is using the IRS to suppress your political opponents. That's what it is, pure and simple. Exactly what it is. Somebody should go to jail over this, and yet he was the Attorney General on watch of all this. In no case, nothing has gone on. He says there's an investigation. Nothing, no charges have been brought. Even the president, his boss, says there's not a smidgen of evidence. Well, listen. It's criminal, felony, criminal First Amendment activity. There, I said it. Period. The end. And there are lots of shoes that are going to drop between now and 2016 over that. We can't forget Benghazi, and we can't forget the spying on reporters. Plenty of other things that has gone on during his watch, and I think he's stepping down to minimize the possible damage that could happen to the Democratic Party going into 2016. And the next story I want to talk about is Ukraine. Now, supposedly there is a ceasefire there. I say supposedly with a big underline. The top commander of NATO says, well, the ceasefire is in name only. But that's not the big story. The big story continues to be the financial war going on between Russia and the West, and I mean the EU and the United States. Now, the EU and the United States put all these new sanctions on Russia, and Russia has already started, cutting supply of natural gas, and prices have gone up. But Russia is getting the green light. The political machinery there is getting ready to give the green light for Russia, the Russian government, to confiscate and seize property on Russian soil. Are you hearing that? They're getting this together, and I think it will pass too. They want to confiscate property, seize property as a response to the sanctions on Russian soil. What kind of property might they be seizing? Well, let's just give you just a few examples. I've told you in the past that BP and Royal Dutch Shell have big oil and natural gas projects there. You think they might be seizing, drilling rigs and oil equipment and leases and, refinery equipment and anything they have built over their offices, you name it. I mean, Russia's got, 12 time zones? You think they have, some offices and some facilities over there doing business? Of course they do. France has a big dairy operation through most of Russia. You think they might be seizing everything from cows to barns to farmland to dairy equipment? I mean, yeah. Germany has something like thousands of businesses. I want to say 6,000, but 3,000? Thousands of businesses doing business inside of Russia. I think there are a lot of assets that the Russians can seize. Oh, and incidentally, if they have bank accounts there and they have some cash there and they have any kind of money there in those banks, that's part of the seizure. so they can seize both paper assets and physical assets. And I think that this will pass, and it's the reason why the stock market sold off. It's like, these sanctions have fallen. I've been telling you, this couldn't come at a worse time for America, which is the strongest, according to Martin Armstrong. It's a market recovery. We don't have a mainstream recovery, but EU is a mess. They are a financial mess. Any talk of them fixing this or having this fixed, we have Mario Draghi at the ECB saying, oh, he's going to do whatever it takes to prop up the economy. Well, listen, if they could just print money, we wouldn't need productivity. We wouldn't need innovation. We wouldn't need factories. We wouldn't need, gross domestic product. We wouldn't need, good monetary policy, money management, bank. We could just print money. We could just hand out slips of paper to people, and everybody would be rich. But you can't do that. My only question, gonna come last thing, and let's not forget the oil, particularly the natural gas with winter coming down. Winter is coming down, and it is. I got a phone call here. Let me just make sure I don't have that anymore. Winter is coming on, and you can bet that there will be natural gas prices going up and supplies going down, compliments of Russia. And here's my only question: will the EU knock off the sanctions before or after they plunge into a Great Depression? That's the only question. Finally, I want to talk about, the crop reports, like to give out here when I'm out here in Missouri. Lush and green here, lots of water, even too much water. They have gotten so much water. The beans, which is a later crop than corn, beans have so much water, there's some mold and some nasty fungus and things growing inside the beans. The bean crop may not be as good as it has been touted because of all the rain, too much rain. Corn's going to do great guns. Remember a few years ago when we had a drought? Farmers got 20, 30, 40 bushels. Some got 0. But one of the farmers down here got 30 bushels to the acre. He's got nice, high, beautiful farm ground, 30 bushels to the acre. This year, do you know what he's going to get? 200. He's counting on 200, maybe 200 plus. Some of the really, really good crops, maybe as much as 250 to 270 bushels to the acre. So that is good news, and yes, it's GMO. That's what the farmers grow here. But a bumper crop means at least people won't be starving around the world. Now here, from the western border of Missouri, pretty much over to the eastern part of the country, pretty good conditions. Lots of water, plenty of rainfall. But out west, particularly, through the southwest, all the way around the western coast, all the way California, all the way up, dry. And let's focus on California. All of California, the entire state of California, which is a big state, is in some sort of drought. Most of California is in the most extreme, severe, worst drought that they have on the chart. It is bad. So you can bet there'll be continued upward pressure on food prices, and wait until the fires and the mudslides this spring in California. California is going to be hell on earth unless this drought gets broken. It looks like it's getting worse and not better. That means food prices are going higher, and things are not going to get better for the folks in California, and some of the other states too, in Oregon and New Mexico and Arizona, parts of western Texas, all very, Nebraska also, Oklahoma, western Nebraska, Oklahoma, also very dry conditions in those states. So be on the lookout. Even though you haven't heard a lot about it, that is a big problem in the western half of the United States, and they grow a lot of food and have a lot of cattle. A lot of agricultural is done out west. Thank you very much for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. I appreciate it. That's the way I see it. And as always, fear not.